Welcome to another episode of Beta Talk. And today or tonight, it's the evening. I've got a glass of wine in. I'm joined by two of my guild engineers, Michael and Liam. And before we chat to them, I'd like to thank my guild patrons who support this podcast and my newsletter, and that's Payaka, Primary Pro, Wolsey Renewable Centre, UK Radiators, Cast Rads, and SB Group. So, Liam and Michael, we've got Michael Warren, who runs Bromley Energy down south somewhere. And we got Liam Knowles, who's the heating people, and you're northwest, aren't you, Liam?
Yeah, I am. I'm in Widnes, so right between Liverpool and Manchester.
And you cover quite a large area, don't you?
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. We when we started working in heat pumps, our very first inquiry, which actually came through someone who was a listener to your podcast, just round the corner in Warrington. But then the inquiries spread, so we ended up in Manchester. We end up in North Wales quite a lot now, but just following demand, really.
Michael, what's your area?
So we're based in Chislehurst, Bromley, South East London, and we cover BR, DASE postcodes predominantly, but we'll go out into the countryside of METN. It's quite a good location where we are.
So one of the sort of main themes I want this podcast to be about is like what is it actually like to be a renewables heating engineer in today's sort of climate, today's environment? Obviously, we know we're sort of starting this transition. Lots of people talking about the heating sector. We're all on social media, so we see all sorts of people talking about it. So I want to give them a sense, and my listeners a sense, what is it actually like to be an engineer out there in today's environment, and particularly a good engineer? Because as we know, I mean, that's something we'll probably talk about. You're part of my guild. Liam, you're one of the original heat geeks. I think you do some heat geek work, maybe Michael. What is it actually like at the moment being a heat? Is it tough, for instance? Is it hard work? I mean, Michael, for instance, you've literally just got home and put your kids to bed, haven't you?
Yeah, so today we're exploring some new things that we're sort of going to go into in the future. But I think is it hard? I don't think it's hard. I think it's in demand. I think people find it difficult to find good installers, um, in turn, us as a business, we find it hard to recruit good installers.
Hmm.
I would echo that. It's not a hard job to do in the sense that we're not mining for coal and we're not trying to put rockets into space. It it's hard in the sense that it's a fairly new concept to homeowners, so it's hard from a point of view that there's often a lot of questions to answer. There's a lot of myths to bust because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and still misinformation being put out there. So it's very different than well, from my background when we were putting gas boilers in and everyone had essentially grown up with one and knew exactly what they were getting.
How large are your companies, Michael? Have you got a certain amount of engineers working for you, or is it you as a sole trader?
So in our business, we've got a full-time office staff. We've got a full-time installer and an apprentice, and then we use subcontractors at the moment for electrical, additional for groundworks and for additional installations. We're actively looking for a full-time electrician to come on the cards, and we're always looking for good installers.
I'm,
If
I'm
the right one
presuming
comes,
I'm presuming it's easier to find full-time electrician than it is to find an engineer that you'd be satisfied with the competency of their work. Maybe.
yeah, similarly, they they've got their own sort of criteria that we're struggling to fill. So with the installer side, is we could get an installer tomorrow, but to get an installer that's got the right attitude and the right work ethic to want to do things the way we want them done, it's almost impossible to find someone like that. So I'm open to the ideas to recruit someone from outside the industry. If they've got, I can teach someone to put a pipe on the wall, and do things the way we want it done. But if they come with that effort, with that right attitude to work, I'd rather take them over a level two plumber.
Mm. I mean, would this have been the same? So let's say when you were running gas companies, if you did run them and you wanted to bring on another engineer or a couple of engineers, I'm assuming it would have been a lot easier just to get someone to come and do that particular job.
I think that I found it a little bit easier, partly because the work's more contained. But when we were doing boilers, it was a lot of boiler replacements and stuff. You can see what they've done. It's all in a small area. And worst case, it takes you a day to put something right. Whereas if you send somebody to go and do something and they're cutting notches out of floors and they're too big, it's a massive headache. Or issues in cylinder cupboards can take you ages to put things right.
Mm.
I think as well as needing a higher level of competency, you also need a higher level of trust in the person.
So this is a big problem, and obviously we're all in our sort of guild WhatsApp groups, and most of you are kind of looking to scale a little bit, and obviously then want to take on someone, but you're all finding that quite hard to find someone that you can kind of trust that's going to sort of do the work to the standards you require, and
Yeah,
that's hard to solve, I suppose, isn't it?
it's a common theme across every group of engineers that I engage with, really. But I think part of it is that although all of us are running businesses, we're all technicians in what we do, and you know we all pride ourselves on it being good. So you've got that extra layer of concern that if you were just running it as a business and you'd never been involved on the tools side, you probably wouldn't be as concerned about good enough would be good enough. You see what I mean?
Mm. I mean, I asked you, what's it like to be a renewables heating engineer? Is it hard? What about the day-to-day kind of things you have to do? I mean, I know for a fact you both work hard. You all work hard in the group. I mean, obviously you're doing things like you're going out to jobs, you're surveying them, you're going to services, breakdowns, installs, but you've got things like, all the admin and operation stuff and all the marketing you all have to do as well. I mean, did you have to do that when you were just gas boilers? I mean, is there a lot more of a workload now? I think like
Yeah,
the
I'd say
training.
it's next level now, the administration side of it, and we're in the process now of obtaining our own MCS. But even without that, the admin side of it is next level. The inquiries have gone probably tenfold with us doing the heat pumps and the air conditioning. It was it was a no-brainer that we had to get someone to come in full time into the office. And then since then, um, I don't know, I didn't get a couple of bad reviews pop up. Just that I could not get back to people quick enough
Mm,
to book in surveys. Now this guy we've got in the office, a great guy. He's I've got survey. I'm booked up for surveys now. We've even got to a stage now. We're doing 30-minute like triage phone calls
mm.
to prevent wasted site visits, just to manage the expectations of the customer, talking it through, finding out whether we're going to be a good fit for them before we go out and charge for a survey.
Is
Was
that on
it
the heat pump side? Is it right?
Yeah, heat and air conditioning both. So
was
now
it
we
you?
charge for a site visit. Now we're charging for a survey, but we give them a free 30-minute phone call to ask as many questions or any information they want to find out whether it's going to be suitable for we're going to be suitable for them.
Was it you that uses AI? Have you got some AI thing running, Michael, on our WhatsApp group?
Uh,
Remember Steve
yeah,
was
so
it?
we've got a couple of AIs running. So we've got one called Agent Dave, which is inside Payaka.
Oh, yeah.
So we use that. That's like so we've got Will who's full time in the office, but having Agent Dave is like having three people in the office compared to one. And then we've got an AI receptionist, which is more than like it's not like a chatbot. Some people think it's like a chatbot, but as you've seen where some of the boys have been trying it out in the group, it not that it's not there to fool customers, but a lot of customers assume that it's a real person.
Hmm.
I, I use the same AI receptionist.
Oh, that's
I've
yeah, we
not,
use the same people, don't we? Yeah.
yeah, I've not integrated it anywhere near as deeply, but the way that it can pull information when it's being trained is brilliant. But I've had people in the conversation with it say, "Oh, and if you're AI, you've been brilliant."
Yeah,
It's remarkable.
yeah, we get that comment often. Yeah,
What about, so you both, I think you're both actually about to go for your MCS, aren't you? So have you found it, what's it been like? Obviously, you work under umbrella schemes, obviously heat geek type things. Have you found the start? Because you're only going through the start of the MCS application. What's it like? Is it a bit of a ball ache? How are you finding it?
You're a little bit
Uh,
ahead of me on this, I think, so it's probably best if
yeah,
you
so
answer.
so I think so. We've gone for it. We've applied through NAPIT for a few technologies, but heat pump being the main one, sort of our core MCS offering. Um, we've applied to them. It's still at the stage. We've put stuff in place. We've got our quality management system in place. We've got the insurances, professional indemnity that we need to have. Um, but at the moment, the ball's in their court. We're just waiting to hear back. I actually chased it up yesterday, and they told me they'll get back to me beginning of next week. So that's where we are with it. So far, it hasn't been. I'd always been put off by it, by a lot of people saying that it is a ball ache and there's loads of ag to go with it. But maybe those people don't operate their business like the way that we do. So a lot of the stuff that we need for MCS, we already do it anyway, not even being MCS. So we've got complaints procedures, we've got a quality management system. Um, so yeah, we tick a lot of those boxes already.
Hmm. You're going with NAPIT as well, aren't you, Lynn?
So my application is currently in the very early stages with an IC.
Right, right, yeah.
More than anything, it was with the issues NAPIT had certainly last year with getting out to do the surveillance visits.
Hmm.
It put me off a little bit. But from what I gather, all of them are pretty slow to get out to you anyway now. So it may not be that there was any benefit going with NIC, other than we can do the competent person scheme for air conditioning with them, so we can self-certify all through one body that way.
Such a fascinating niche sort of sector. We were chatting offline, weren't we, Liam? Yeah, I think there's eight certification bodies that will do this, for heat pumps. So like when you engineers decide you want to go MCS, you have to pick one of these eight certification bodies to go with, and then you pay them your yearly subscription. They come out and audit your work. So there's eight of them, so that they're competitive with each other. So they're all you are their market essentially, and I'm just surprised one of them hasn't sort of thought, right, let's do something really, really, really different. Let's try and get as many of these engineers as possible and do something really, really well. They don't. I mean, I know NAPIT, I think, has 40%, I think, of engineers, but they were quite big anyway because they come from the electrical world. But I don't see them, I don't see any of them really not one of them has sort of done something that's really, really special to sort of capture the attention of you engineers, because every engineer I speak to that starts this process of going through their MCS finds it quite laborious, cumbersome. Some people get lucky and it seems to go quite seamlessly for them, but it does seem to be a bloody rigmarole. And then, of course, when you are with a CB, you're relying on them, whoever comes out to audit your work, you kind of want them to know what they're on about. Because, I mean, you guys, for instance, are elite engineers, you're guild engineers, you're great engineers. And arguably, most of the assessors out there, because they're not on the tools every day, they don't see what the real world is anymore. Yeah, I'm a qualified assessor. I'm quite a highly qualified assessor, but I wouldn't want to assess you too because I wouldn't really know what you're far more competent than me, as you would be. And this is one of the things I'm currently saying at the moment. The people that really understand what current best practice is can only be the people practicing. You can only understand current best practice if you practice. All these lovely, wonderful people I know in SIBSI and the Chartered Institute. If you're not practicing, you won't know. They won't know what you people do because, as you know, it's quite a dynamic industry. It's constantly changing. No one can know everything. I mean, we've got 30 people in our WhatsApp group and you're all chatting with each other. Everyone's learning from each other. And it's because another problem we've got is there is so much stuff out there. In the heating world, there's a lot of equipment, a lot of makes and models of boilers. We've now got all this other technology coming in. I think there'll be a bit of a problem in the future. Now, who's going to maintain this sheer amount of technology out there? Because it's all so different. I mean, your dad will remember, Liam, because obviously, Liam, you come from a family company. Your dad was a plumber heating engineer. back when thermal stores were being put into new builds, the people will be living in them new builds of a thermal store for a few years. It'll break down. They'd get on Google or however they would find a plumber. The plumber would come around, wouldn't have a clue what they're looking at. Say, yeah, that don't work. We'll put a combi in. And that's what was going on. Because there's just so much stuff. Not everyone can know about all this stuff. I mean, we've got a lot of heat pumps in the sector. I mean, I think you two will make. Have you got particular mates you like to work with? I mean, we'll come on to manufacturers in a bit, so that's a good topic to talk about.
We work mostly with Valent. We have used a couple of other brands. We found Valent. It might just be one of those that when you install something a lot, you like it because you get used to it. But it's our go-to.
Mm. You're the same, Michael.
Yeah, I think with us when we're selecting I've done a post about it a couple of months ago now. When we're selecting manufacturers, we look at how they can support our customers in the unlikely event that anything goes wrong. It's the customers that's dealing with it more than us. Obviously, we want to get it sorted for them. But so Valent seemed to go to in the heat pump world. We're not really a fan of Valent boilers, not as in functionality and reliability, just the after sales. If something goes wrong, their after sales doesn't seem as good. So in the boiler world, we was always Worcester Bosch. Same with the air conditioning world. We've moved over to Worcester Bosch just that because they've got the guys on the ground who will go out and get things sorted. They don't really dispute. I don't know whether it's just because we've always had a good relationship with them. They don't really dispute any warranty calls that we put in. It's very rare that we put one in. Can't even remember the last time we done one.
That's something that Worcester have done really well in the industry, and they built a great reputation for that support.
Yeah. Arguably the sort of number one historically for that support. They kind of back from the Triangle. So my dad was one of the 12 technical reps of Triangle Red Fire, and then they got rid of all their technical reps. Triangle Red Fire literally went from number one spot to bottom. Worcester Bosch took number one spot, and they sort of adopted that model of having a very, very good support network, and they've always seemed to have that. I was chatting to Joe Shepherd, the new CEO, the other day, actually. It's interesting the heat pumps of how Valent seemed to sort of capture the market. As one of the big four boiler companies, Valent arguably have captured the majority of the market, haven't they, with USMEs, I would say, as opposed to Bosch. Whereas in boiler world, like you said, Michael, that would still be your number one go-to because you've got that technical backup and support. Same with air-to-air stuff. They've been doing comfort cooling, comfort heating systems for a long time now, Bosch, more than the other boiler manufacturers. Some of the groups they belong to do the air-to-air stuff. Now, you already do air-to-air, don't you, Michael? And I think you do them as well, don't you?
Yeah.
And have you sort of seen, well, I know you have, it's a rhetorical question. Have you seen a lot of customer interest since we've had all these heat waves in what you can do with air-to-air?
So we've been doing air-to-air for, I think it's coming up 6 years now. So I can't remember why we got into it originally. Probably a heat wave 6 years ago. But so yeah, we got into it then, and as much as you do the training and the qualification, a bit like your gas qualification, it doesn't show you how to actually put the unit on the wall, and all the little bits that you learn with it. But I think we learned that quite quickly. So now we're sort of we can get on with most things now.
And have you had a lot of
stuck with units? Yeah, this year. Yeah, this year it was a great year this year. Till the product shortages, and because we're sort of all eggs in one basket with Bosch this year. When it come to their shortage, we was quite fortunate that we'd stocked a lot up just by chance. We stocked up quite a bit before the announcement come about them being out of stock, and then you get merchants saying, "Well, we've got this supplier in stock," and we just shied away from that really because we didn't know enough about the product. We could have just gone, "Yeah, guess that we're going to fit it and we'll make some money," but I didn't feel comfortable fitting products that we had no relationship with, we don't have no history with. So yeah, we're busy enough doing plenty of other things, so we just shied away from that for now.
Is there a particular product you like, Liam, in the air-to-air world?
We're much newer to it than Michael, so we're still trying to find the brands that we want to be working with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
The chances are that we will be with Shiba and Dakin,
Yeah.
possibly Panasonic. Dakin, we've got a decent relationship with the local rep because he was a rep in the gas world earlier that we dealt with in the past.
Mm.
But yeah, we're certainly not been as involved with it.
Mm.
But
It
cooling's
does
been at
make
the
a big
top.
difference, doesn't it? With the reps, like you follow like a good rep is you quite easily follow that rep if he's a good rep.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got someone that you know that you can lean on, or you've got an issue, and they're going to get back to you and stuff, yeah, absolutely. They've also they can have got training centres not that far from here as well, so it makes sense that we've got somewhere that we can go additional training and pick up on specific lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, they can make good kit. Been around it a long, long, long time. And Michael, what training did you do that for back in the day? So you went out and did your F gas, and then but you hit on something
Yeah.
quite important there. You kind of learn a lot about this while you're actually on the job, don't you? It's getting used to doing things like vacuum down and tightness testing and strength tests and all this sort of stuff and gauges. I mean, gauges still confuse me. Um, I've been around him a long time. I mean, I've always just laboured for my cousin, but yeah, I've watched it going on lots and lots of times. But quite confusing, and I can see a lot of it. I can see a lot of people getting it wrong because they go on these F-gas courses. I don't know how long the F-gas course is. I'm assuming something another 3 day course, but maybe it's longer. And
I think when I've done it, it was like I think it was like 4 days one week, and then you came back the next week and done 3 4 days. That's when I've done
right,
it.
yeah,
So, mine was 5 days, including assessment.
right.
I might just pick things up more quickly than Mickey does, though.
Well, you Northerners are a bit quicker than us Southerners, aren't you? But can you see issues with the I mean, obviously, I know you guys and a lot of the other guild engineers are sort of getting quite enthusiastic about this stuff and the sort of science behind it, the technology behind it, doing it right. Can you see a problem though, as it becomes more popular, and it will become more popular? This stuff is actually quite easy to bosh in, just like a combi is. And do you think that is going to be a problem?
I think
Can't see it not being.
I think it's exactly the same as the boilers. It's if you want, it's not difficult to. I think anyone would be able to install it, but it's whether they know how to install it. I think like when we first started out, yeah, we made mistakes and obviously we learned from that. But when we made mistakes, we made sure that we put it right. We didn't just walk away from it and just think, oh, we'll worry about that another day. We learn from it and make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. And I think it all comes down to, I think we said earlier with recruitment, it all comes down to the attitude and the effort of the installer. These people fit in the F gas who are just doing these quick courses and think they can just bosh them in. Them installations are going to be unreliable. They're going to break down. And same with the boiler world, you've got people slinging in combis that are going to break down on dirty systems. That Yeah, I think the good people ain't got nothing to worry about. I think that if you go to a good installer, you're going to get a good job.
So I mean, it remains quite hard for the customer out there, doesn't it? They're surrounded by all this media talk of new technology. They're not new, but new to them. And it's very, very hard for them to sort of, a lot of the time it's luck. They come across people like yourselves. I'd say, they haven't sort of seen you advertised, e.g. through HeatGeek or myself. They've basically been very, very lucky and probably don't realise how competent an engineer they've got because unfortunately a lot of engineers out there, not necessarily their fault. There's just some stuff they don't know. They don't know that they don't know it. And it's arguably not their fault because they've never really been told that that's the stuff they have to know as well. I mean, which is why when Adam come on with his Heat Geek course and Kim started up his course, it sort of revived a bit of enthusiasm about heating again for the people like yourselves who kind of get passionate about the sciencey type aspect of it and what is the best way to do certain things. There's 101 ways to do things in our industry, and obviously the good engineers want to do it right. And I think we are going to have a bit of a problem there because I don't think everyone wants to do it right, if I'm honest. You can earn a bit of money in this. I never did, but you can earn a bit of money in this industry. And I think people are realizing that. We've seen a lot of people move into this industry who were never in the industry before and setting up companies. And some will probably do a good job. They might be doing it for the right reasons. But I can see a lot of tears because, unlike a boiler, if you get this heat pump, air to water heat pumps wrong, it's horrible for the customer. They're paying expensive bills, costly utility bills, and things break down. That they're in a bit of a predicament, aren't they?
I think that is a bit of a double-edged sword for people like us, where the negative press of heat pumps puts a lot of people off. But it does also mean that a lot of the people who are looking at it are spending more time researching engineers. They're not just finding the person who comes top of Google. They're spending time to make sure they're going to get a reliable product that isn't going to bankrupt them in the first winter.
Mm.
So I think a lot of the bad installers out there are, in some senses, doing us a favour. It's, but it is a bit of both.
Do you guys both pick up any maintenance work? Do you get sort of customers ringing you up and say they've got a heat pump already and it's broken down? Can you come and have a look at it? You see much of that type of work?
We do, but we very rarely go out to them. We're just that busy on our own stuff and keeping on top of the maintenance of customers that we've fitted heat pumps for over the last 4 years. It's difficult to get out, and it's also, you never know what you're going into. Like, even if you just go to service one someone else has fitted, you can spend the morning there. When you go to one that there's known problems on, you could be into a day of looking at it to try and figure out what's been done, let alone what was going through their head when they did it.
Are you the same, Mark? You tend to stay away from.
He took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, if we get inquiries from people, just send normally a long old list of issues, or they don't quite know how to sort something out. And yeah, we're busy enough doing what we're doing with our own customers. Same as what Liam said there. We haven't got capacity to be taking on anything like that at the moment.
So this is a bit, when you mentioned the double-edged sword, Liam. So in a sense, you've got the engineers doing their due diligence, finding guys like yourselves, and they're going to be okay. But there's a lot of people out there had rubbish installs, and now they've got the added problem. They can't find a very good engineer to come and rectify them. So the engineer that probably does come around to have a little go at it and get it working, and probably charge them an astronomical amount, and doesn't actually do much. So they've got that problem as well, haven't they?
So I think that's part of the problem, that because to go and find what the fault is, what the issue is on an existing system, and a lot of the time you can go there, and by the time you've got the door fully open on the cylinder cupboard, you can already see 10 things that are wrong. But to really nail it down and to be able to say to them, oh yeah, by doing this, you're going to see this improvement, they're going to be parted with that much money that you look like the one who's ripping people off rather than the person who's done the bad job in the first place.
Yeah.
And of course, at that point, there's no grant funding, there's no zero VAT. It's, everything's coming out of their pocket.
Yeah. Bit of a sad situation.
Definitely a big market for retrospective remedials.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big market for that. Yeah. Something to entertain those people, because they're looking for people. The closest we've come to that, we've had 2 heat pump installations where they were old RHI installations, and we've ripped it out, and they were both split systems actually. We've ripped it out and put in new installations, and the customers are actually, we've just done one's first year service this week, and this morning actually, and they're over the moon. They can't believe it's like chalk and cheese for their system before, and they didn't get no government grant for our installation. They've had to pay that.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Oh, good on them.
We've only ever done that once, where we went and took out a new build house built with a drastically oversized Mitsubishi heat pump. So we went and fitted a second-hand valent for him, and he went from it being like something like 1.8 up to about 4 on his Scott.
Yeah.
We also removed about 6 pumps that weren't being monitored. So the
Yeah,
actual energy reduction was probably much bigger.
Do you guys, you mentioned new builds earlier. Do you guys get involved in new builds? Do you work for any of the developers? No.
no, we don't. I don't
We
work
don't
for any
even,
new builds. Don't work for no builders. We
yeah,
work
no,
for homeowners direct, and that's it.
Yeah.
we're the same. We don't even really get involved. Well, a little bit with extensions if a homeowner inquires and having an extension done, but mostly we're retrofit.
Is there a reason you don't work with builders? Have you had your fingers burnt in the past? Because I know it's hard sometimes. Have you ever a few bad ones?
Touch wood, I've not, but I've heard from plenty of people that have. So I've not put myself in that position
Mm,
to go. We work alongside builders
mm,
with homeowners for like big renovations, but we make it clear to the homeowner that we work for them. We don't work for the builder.
mm. I
Yeah,
know a question I want to ask. Do you use, I'll tell you the reason I'll ask it in a minute. So, do you use third-party surveyors? So, obviously, having run this podcast about 8 years, I have a lot of people sort of contact me to sort of ask me sort of questions and have meetings and stuff. A lot of startups, but there's a few people I've had sort of get hold of me who are very interested in the sector. Maybe have worked in it, whether it's been at policy level, and they're getting into setting up companies where they go to homes and do the survey. So they do the heat loss survey, and then they've got a potential job, and then that's a lead for engineers. And obviously, because I sort of run the guild, I think that's why they're getting in contact with me. But I've got mixed reports. Some engineers don't like third party surveys. Some engineers don't mind, especially if they know who's doing them. They can sort of sense that they actually understand what they're doing. But do you do your own surveys? Do you use particular software, or would you trust a third party surveyor?
we do all our own. I do know there was one that set up a few years ago that some of the guys in the guild, I think, had used and said they were really good. To me, as well as doing the heat loss survey, while I'm there, I can do the spec. I can make sure that it's actually doable. I know, and I've had eyes on the job. Although I'd be happy to give estimates based off a third party um, heat loss survey, I wouldn't want to turn up to a job with a load of kit ordered based off what somebody else had done. And I would always want to double check that survey myself.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, I think I would. I do all our surveys. To give it to even chance it with a third party, they'd have to have some mustard CV or experience to take a chance in them designing a system for us. And also it comes down to the homeowners as well. We get we get good feedback that generally these people shop around, get more than one quote, which we encourage. It's a big investment for them. They want to make sure they're getting what they're happy with. And when we do a survey, I think they like the fact that it comes from it's more of an installer's perspective survey. We're not a salesman. We're not coming from one of these national companies that are just there and saying yes, yes, yes. You can have this. You can have this. And then the installer that they have, like these things, like these national companies have two stages of their survey. They have a salesman go there first, or saleswoman, give them an estimate saying, yeah, you can have this, you can, yeah, just bend it over backwards. Then they have a technical survey once afterwards, and they're like, oh, no, actually, you can't have that. You can't have that. So I think they like that it comes from an installer's perspective.
I've always found that interesting. Yeah, you're right. The big entities will have salespeople make that first contact with the customer. And I've always found that an interesting concept because salespeople are salespeople. Yeah. My little brother's been in that corporate sales world for a long time. I mean, half the time, people in that world sell stuff that they don't actually know anything about or believe in. They're just very, very good at, they've got great people skills. They're good at selling. But of course, this is a complex system, expensive for a customer. And, that's sales pitch. If I was a customer, I'd be very uncomfortable with that sales pitch. I'd want to be speaking to the person who actually knows kind of what they're on about, which I think is where if you do your own surveys, I think you engender that trust more with a customer. I mean, I'm not sure, like I say, there's a lot of people that want to get into this third party surveying. And when I've chatted to them, I say, well, the other advantage is when an engineer goes around, and you said it, Liam, yes, they're doing the heat loss, but their tacit knowledge is picking up on stuff. They're picking up on what way the floorboards are running. Are the floorboards going to be hard to lift up? You know, they're 500-year-old oak panels. You don't really want to be lifting them up. And, you know, and the airing cupboard, for instance, us three could look at an airing cupboard in a nanosecond. We don't know we're doing it. We're doing it subconsciously. We can spot a lot of things in just a nanosecond, just by their positioning, etc., etc. Whereas someone that's very, very competent of assessing building fabric wouldn't know that knowledge around the current heating system the person's got. And sometimes that makes a big difference. They might have an open vented system, they might already have an unvented system. And I think that's where it helps if the actual installation company is doing the survey themselves, because they're picking up on them, on them little things, aren't they? Do
I think
you?
I think for that third party survey, again, I think like the remedials, there is a market there for it, but it would have to be someone. It'd have to be someone well respected in the industry who has got a
Yeah.
reputation of being a good installer. Maybe it might be a good installer that's worked to. Like, they haven't got to retire, but maybe they want to they want to wind down, or they want to lighten the load, and they've got that reputation, and then they go into that surveying. I think their surveys would carry a lot more weight than
Mm,
Joe Blogs popping up saying, "I've surveyed this house and it needs ABC."
mm. I think one of the reasons this sort of market is starting to come about is because a lot of customers, and the customers that have sort of engaged with me, and I know some of the customers that talk on social media, you know, they get their three quotes, for instance, and the first thing they notice is the heat loss calculations are all different. And the first thing I said to them, well, they are going to be different, and they can't. That'd be impossible for you to get three exactly the same. It'd be very hard because when you do an estimated calculation, no matter how good the calculation software is, it's still, you know, it's kind of still making an estimation. It's a calculated estimate, and not everyone is going to have exactly the same answer. There's going to be a variance. Obviously, if you've got a wide range in variance, then you've got a little bit of a problem, because then who do you trust? And I think that's where this whole idea of, if there was an elite third party surveyors out there, but you're right. You know, who would you trust? You know, they'd have to be very, very good at it.
Who
I think there
guarantees the
could be a
system?
standard. What's that, Leo?
And who guarantees the system when it's working or not working, or is it expensive to run when you've been
Yes.
given the number that you need to work to?
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, who's responsible?
I think you could put things out for like homeowners to look out for as part of a survey. Maybe um, you could have what for them to expect on a survey. Like, is that person doing the survey, are they checking your flow rate of your water? Are they checking your pressure? Are they putting their head up in the loft and seeing what your loft insulation levels are? Are they looking up? Are they referencing your EPC? I know they're not the most accurate, but are they looking it up to see if is it presumed that the cavity walls are filled? They're just all those little things that these salespeople probably ain't doing. They're probably just taking it straight from the EPC and saying this is the answer.
Just noticed I've got my tea in the oven and I've left it on maximum. I'll tell it's going to smoke out the kitchen in a minute. I've had sausages in there for about an hour.
Big
Jeepers.
charcoal.
Might have the fire alarm going off in a minute. Um, how how easy is it? Like, I mean, you've both been gas engineers in your time. How easy is it for gas engineers to transition? It's a question I always get asked. How easy is it for gas engineers to transition? And do they want to transition? I mean, do you think the average gas engineer wants to? Because it's a lot of them are probably looking at all you guys in Crockett. There's a lot of work involved in all that. So that let's just carry on to do what we know what we're doing.
Yeah, looking at us saying he's aged 10 years in the last 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's as easy as they want it to be. If they want to learn it, if they're interested in it and they want to learn it, it is easy. It's nothing. We're not reinventing anything. All the information's there that you need.
But is that the problem, Michael? Do you think the average gas engineer wants to learn more stuff, or are they just happy just sticking heating systems in there?
Yeah, they're happy slinging borders in. There's good money to be made in slinging borders, but there's no. You're not building a business. You're not growing a business, and there's no future in your business if you're just slinging borders in every day.
Mm.
I think it's certainly a certain type of person. I agree that it's not a difficult transition to make. There's a little bit of learning in terms of the knowledge that you need for it, and then there is the on-site learning. I remember my very first air source heat pump install. Heat pump got delivered a day late, and then I'm looking at it thinking, right, why do I get the fittings to go on this then? And there's
Yeah.
a bit of learning to do because although it is still pipes and wires, everything looks different.
But then
Um,
nothing's a secret, is it? Nothing in it. I think in the
no,
heat
no,
pump world, nothing's a secret. There's probably more information shared in the heat pump world than there is in the boiler world.
oh, definitely. And if you're the type of person who is proactively out there in the social media groups and stuff, looking at these things, that there's loads of information, probably more than you would ever want. Um, but I don't think there's any denying that it's much harder graft fitting heat pumps than it is fitting boilers.
Mm.
Everything's heavier. You need more kit. It takes longer to do. It's a longer lead in from when you first speak to a customer to when you commission that system. Um, on the flip side, and I've spoken to people in the past who said they were ready to leave the industry. They did one of the training courses, and it reignited the passion to
Mm.
be doing what they do. And now they are mostly fitting heat pumps.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it when people ask me, well, what makes a good engineer, Nathan? Well, one of the first things I try and get across to them is, well, you can't just spot them. It's not like you look at a heating engineer and you think, right, they're really, really good, because you are a completely mixed, heterogeneous, diverse bunch. You all share the same thing. You all love learning. And some of you probably didn't like school, some of you probably didn't go on to university, some of you did. So there's no hard and fast rules with what makes a good engineer, apart from it's someone that really has a passion for wanting to learn. So a lot of the heating engineers I do meet, they're brilliant at what they do. They can get your boiler going again late at night, which is exactly what you want when your boiler's broken down. You don't need someone to come in and know all the science about heating. You just want that boiler working. Some fantastic people out there that can do that, but they don't want to know anything else. Yeah, when I chat to them about heat pump, yeah, they don't bloody work, Nathan. What you on about? And you just know you've got to end the conversation there, because it's not worth even. Because they're happy with what they do, they know what they do. They're not boiler slingers as such. They know how to repair boilers. There's still people out there that can do that, but they have absolutely zero interest in kind of learning anything more than what they now know. They're at a happy medium. And that's interesting because, but like you say, there's some of you that for some reason you got that interest was sparked, whether it was a course, whether it was Adam's course or Kimbo's course or whatever, just chatting to other people, and you spark that passion. And it's not just something you think, right, I'll go off and do a few courses. You constantly like learning from each other. You do it all the time. I see it daily with all your hundreds of messages that I have to keep up with. But there is a lot of learning. One of the interesting things is what you learn about is not so much the technology or process and how you do things, but sort of business sense. Simple things like, what insurances are you all using for? I think, Liam, you asked a question the other day about insurances, didn't you? And
Yeah,
because there's so much when you run a business, there's so much other stuff to run it. And some of you seem to be very, very good at running businesses. And you're sharing information about that, because that is a big part of it, isn't it? If you're going to run a company, you got to kind of run it successfully. Otherwise, you lose profit and you go insolvent. So there's a lot of business strategy that gets talked about as well, isn't there?
it's an expensive hobby otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's some people who really love that side of things and probably enjoy learning and improving that side of the business as much as they do the technical side. Um, I am much more interested in the how things work, and I'm I'm nowhere near as organised as I should be when it comes to doing the stuff, putting systems in place and that type of thing.
Michael, you strike me as someone that is. You quite like that whole business side of things. You're always sort of thinking about the business aspect as well as the job itself, aren't you?
Yeah, I've always found it interesting. I think from my background before I went self-employed and started my own business, I worked for a local authority as a contracts and compliance manager, and I was sitting across the table. I was managing a large budget for all M&E, And I was sitting across the table with contractors who we might be giving them £2 million worth of work a year. And we're sitting across the table from this person, asking them what I thought at the time, basic questions, and they just didn't know the answers. And I was think, God, if you can do this, I can definitely do it. And that sort of spurred me on to set up by myself and give it a go. And
Mm.
touch wood, we're making small steps every day heading in the right direction.
There's some poor M&E contractor sat listening to this thinking, God, that was me.
Yeah,
I've inspired him to do
yeah, they know who they are. There's more than one of them, to be fair.
that.
So as a sector, you guys and girls are all out there doing good work, but as a sector, you're all very aware of what we see on social media from policy, from government. You know, they've got some targets. They want to decarbonise as many homes as possible, and heat pump technology has been sort of the chosen technology. Do you think we're going to be able to do it, or do you think this whole transition is going to take a lot slower than what people thought? Do you think it's working? Obviously, your guys and the jobs you do, your customers are very, very happy. But as a sector as a whole, do you think there's still some big hurdles that we need to overcome?
I think on the whole, that question's above my pay grade. But it, in terms of the challenges I see, I think the employment one is a big one. Bringing enough people in that are competent to do it. That said, there are companies out there, in Heat Geek at the moment with Zero Disrupt, the way that they're simplifying an installation process, both from an installer point of view and from a homeowner point of view. Stuff like that is going to speed the transition up. More homes will be decarbonised. And then, longer term, I think the energy market's going to play a big part in it. At the moment, if you're looking at a heat pump and you're looking at it, it's like, well, it's going to take me X amount of years to pay that back. I can just get a boiler. As the energy market changes, as energy storage and stuff like that changes, I think it becomes a much easier proposition to get that decarbonisation there and to get more heat pumps, whether that's air to water or air to air, into people's homes.
Do you guys do battery and solar as well?
We've just done our MCS application for it,
Yeah.
and we've got some things in the pipeline. So yeah,
Mm.
it's an area we're moving into.
Mm.
So I think you need to be flexible to change, and like the gas, obviously there's boilers around, and there's looks like there's still going to be boilers around for a little while. But if you want to last in this space, and I think it's silly for someone coming out of college now to go into the gas industry. I think we're looking to steer ourselves as whole home electrification.
So we have been wanting to move into batteries, particularly, and maybe solar. But as I said, I take my eye off the business side a little bit quicker than Michael does. But I agree that to be a provider of a decarbonisation package, I think is a really good position to be in.
Mm. What do you do, Liam, when you get inquiries for batteries and so? Have you got like subbies you can rely on or come and do that alongside the heat pump install you do?
No, we used to try and refer them on to people, but we never found anyone. The electrician who we used for our supplies used to be MCS for his solar and not batteries because I think it was during the fit tariff. He found it too much paperwork, so stopped doing it. He's slowly getting back into it through an umbrella at the minute. So we may have a partner that we can work with on it. But they're a very small outfit. There's just the two guys, and he did have an apprentice, but he qualified and left. But that's another topic, isn't it?
Big problem.
But yeah, at the minute, it's just a case of saying, well, you need to find somebody to do that. We don't really need to interface with that. The heat pump doesn't need to talk to batteries or anything. It will draw its energy when it needs its energy.
Mm.
And that same story, that's how we got into it. It was getting inquiries, same boat as what Liam's in now, saying, "No, sorry, we can't help you. Sorry, we can't help you." And the inquiries were getting that common that I thought, well, why can't we help you? And And then I spoke to a local firm to us that years ago we actually used to sub off for them installing car chargers when we had an electrician on the books. He was doing solar panels, and his business was sort of he didn't run his business at sort of probably how we run our business, and he didn't want to entertain paperwork and dealing with scaffolders, roofers when it comes to solar panels. And but the paperwork side of things with Payhacker, the paperwork's quite simple really.
Mm.
There's not a lot involved in it.
My sponsor will like you for mentioning them. I've got a couple of times. Going back to this,
Take it off the list.
Going back to this apprenticeship thing, Liam, you just picked up on something very interesting. So, from time to time, apprenticeships and apprentices get discussed in our group, and there seems to be a common theme among you engineers and other engineers out there that have taken on apprentices. They do their 4 years, they get qualified, and then they leave the company, which is very horrible for the company, because they've invested all that time and effort into training that apprentice, because they are the primary learning facilitator. It's not the college or a lecturer like me, it's the actual employer. They invested all that time, effort, their insurances go up, lots of paperwork involved, and the apprenticeship qualifies, and then off they go, because a lot of the time they can command good money now. And because this is such a new emerging market, they are a sought after commodity. And they can set up on their own, for instance, or they can go with someone else. And that seems to be a bit of a problem, and it is quite off-putting for people taking on apprentices, isn't it? Unless they're their own family members. So a lot of the apprentices I taught, most of the apprentices I've ever taught were family members of their employers. You've got an apprentice, Michael, at the moment, haven't you?
So our installer, full-time installer, I had him as an apprentice straight from school, 16.
Yeah.
We let him go through COVID, kept him on furlough for about a year, but just could not keep him going at that time. He went and worked for an Eco4 company. Then he wasn't happy there. They still hadn't finished his college, so then we always kept in touch, and then we brought him back, finished his qualification, and now he's full-time installer. He's installing heat pumps on his own, and on his own. We have an apprentice that we took on about 6 months ago now, who works with him full-time.
So for you, it's worked.
Yeah, but I've had an apprentice before, who was once qualified, then they left.
It's tough, I suppose, isn't it? You put all that investment.
Yeah, but I think different with this one. I think obviously sometimes I'll guess you can't help it, but if you treat that person right and they feel like they're part of the team, they feel like they're part of the bigger picture. So I like to think our installer can see where our business is going, and he's excited to be a part of that. And we reward him, right?
I think that's dead true, but it's a difficult thing to do when you can see what value they can add each week, each day. And, you want to treat them well enough to keep them there. But sometimes when someone's just looking for an engineer and like, oh yeah, this lad, and, he's a bit cheaper than taking on someone who's had a few years experience and he seems all right. I wonder how often the new employers are disappointed with what they can actually do. Because that's, if you were worth more, you will pay them more. It's,
I don't think you get a better installer than one you've trained up yourself. Don't think.
I might be doing something wrong with the training. To be honest, we've had it both ways where there is, we had an apprentice leave. They'd done their apprenticeship, they'd done some additional training that we'd funded, and as soon as they'd done their work out on that additional training, they left. But then we've had our apprentice before that, when we were moving on to work that was out of their area, they'd gone and worked for my dad's firm, and so he's probably 26 now. He's been, essentially went from me to work for my dad because that's where there was work that he was more able to do.
Yeah,
and there's no signs of him going anywhere.
And is it costly? Is it quite a costly thing to take on an apprentice?
Yeah, I think particularly when you're smaller, if you've got a full-time installer and you can send them with them all the time, and you know that they're going to be useful 5 days a week, it's not quite as bad. We have an apprentice at the moment who is coming and doing surveys and stuff with me as well. They're very rarely actually useful on the survey. They maybe speed it up by 15, 30 minutes. But the days where I am doing stuff where I need to do focus work, or I'm going and doing stuff where they don't add any value, then they're being paid to stay at home or tied to the yard again.
Mm. Mm. When did they start paying back then, Michael? It was sort of the third year, the fourth year? When did you start seeing, oh yeah, they're worth
It
them?
depends how much. Depends sort of how much you give them, really. I think for how much they get paid for a new starter now, the minute with a minimum wage for. So the apprentice we took on 6 months ago, he would have been, he still would have been 17, and his take home pay is just over £300 a week,
That's all
which
right
About
for
8.50
70.
an hour, is it?
and I think that's a 40-hour work week. Um, that's expensive for us because the
Mm.
output is next to nothing.
Mm.
It's there's no incentive or contribution to us to hire an apprentice.
Mm. Mm. And that's just wages. You've got other stuff
That's
on.
just wages. Then we've got the NI. I think he might be under the NI threshold. That's one for the accountant, but obviously he gets 20 days holiday, sick pay. He's not old enough to be part of the pension, but yeah, you got all the cost, additional insurance.
But you're
You
paying
got
him
all you got.
20% extra to go to college, aren't you? If he's a day a week where you're paying him at college,
Yeah. So
it's like paying
so
him 20% more.
the college has been absolutely terrible in actually getting him onto a course. Not him, but just I think just for them to fulfill a course. And yeah, well, I'm sort of half toying with the idea of why am I even bothering sending him to college? He'll
Mm.
learn more, stand with us, and then just pay for him to do his MVQ level 2, like an assessment or an MVQ, like, and then move him on. I don't see for him to lose him for that one day when he can start doing a bit. I don't think from apprentices I've had in the past, it's a common theme of them going to college and the tutor wasn't there, or
Yeah.
they didn't do anything, or that just like a waste of time. I think, well, you might as well just come and work and
Yeah.
done something for us.
Yeah. Very frustrating.
Definitely.
All
Let's
colleges around the country are similar. They can't get competent lecturers. Massive shortage of us sort of college lecturers. Uh, it's a broken system, and arguably you don't even need a college. Why would if an apprentice was sent with someone that's very competent like yourselves, they're going to learn what they need to learn. Yes, theory is very important, but you can do theory as well. You don't need a college to do it. You can got the heat geek courses, you've got
Mm.
all these other sort of things. Theory can be done while they're working with a company, and this whole college thing is bizarre. It really is, and that's where all that money's going to. And we're talking millions every week.
Well, some of that funding that
We,
we need to take on apprentices, some of that funding probably needs to go to the wages of the lecturers. Because why is
oh
a
yeah,
good, a knowledgeable lecturer or installer or retired installer or technician, why are they going to want to go into college for? I don't know what they get paid, but I can't imagine it's not a lot compared to what they earned when they was on the tools. So I don't know why there should be incentives to that. And even manufacturers in the industry that need that industry to keep growing. Why are manufacturers not contributing to training?
It's a good question because I
I,
was going to actually ask you both. Is there certain things that we know lots of them? There's lots of them in our industry. Is there certain things manufacturers could be doing to help this sector, or to help engineers, or to help the sector as a whole? Is there certain things that manufacturers could sort of step up to the plate and do that they're not doing?
I think they could do more on, like, not generics, probably the wrong word, but they could do more on. Um, that's the only word I can think of. They could do more on generic training instead of just their product specific training. They could do training on hydronics or on general plumbing, so they haven't got to go into a
Don't know
college.
that. I don't know if all the manufacturers know anything about that, Michael. You lot would be teaching them. Um, well, actually, which is a bit of a theme. I've said that since we all went to the installer show, there's about 5, 6 heat pump manufacturers that are interested in sort of doing some stuff with us guild. And I said it's bilateral learning. The guys aren't going to just learn about your products. You're going to learn from them. what's going on at the coal face, what it's like to be an engineer using your products, because there's so much manufacturers can learn from you guys. Obviously, from good engineers. I mean, historically, one of the big issues in this sector is there's been sort of like lots of social scientists have been sort of studying this industry for a long time, and the sector will go out to engineers and ask them questions and do surveys. And we've had things like the Energy Savings Trust heat pump trials and electrification of heat pump trials. But the problem with all that is they were going to the wrong people and asking the wrong people. They were going to engineers that are qualified, got all the right accreditations, but that doesn't mean they're competent. So a lot of the time, a lot of the wrong people are getting asked. And again, it's not the people getting asked, it's their fault that they're not competent. It's just how our sector is at the moment. Whereas if they're asking very competent engineers, I think the manufacturers, they can get some good feedback and maybe start to do some better stuff rather than just trying to compete with each other to sell more boxes. But yeah, I think manufacturers can help out with apprenticeships a little bit more. I know Valent do that. Valent sort of sponsor 10 apprentices, I think, something like that system they've got, which seems to be working quite well, I hear. Hopefully more manufacturers can sort of support you engineers doing that. I think that would be beneficial. Well, lads, I'm going to have to check more sausages in a minute, because as soon as I open this oven door, I think the alarm's going to go off. We've had a little hour that's gone quick. What are you guys doing tomorrow? It's Tuesday tomorrow. What you got on?
I'm back on surveys again tomorrow. We've got pretty much a full week of surveys.
Do you like them, Liam? Surveys?
Love them.
Yeah.
I get to go out, chat to people, meet them, have a nose around people's houses. It's my favourite part of the job, really, is where I get to interact with people the most.
And then what do? You whittle them down, you do a load of surveys. So like this week you're doing loads of surveys, and then you sort of whittle down which jobs you kind of want.
Well, yeah, most of the time, by the time I've gone and done a survey, I will have spoken to someone. Depending which route they come to us, if a person gets in touch with me directly, I will usually book a phone call with them and have a chat with them. So I've usually got an idea of whether I want to be working with someone or not anyway. I've found that since we've moved into heat pumps, I really like the customers that we work for. The people who want to do it are my kind of people. So it's very, very rare that we don't want to do a job for someone. So then it's just going out, making sure that it can be done, and getting all the paperwork together for them, getting the costings together. It would only be, in fact, even if we get a job passed to us through HeatGeek, because we've got to arrange the date, I will normally have a chat with them beforehand anyway.
What are you up to, Michael?
Tomorrow I've got 2 commissions for heat pumps we installed. We generally book them up like a few days after the installation is complete.
Yeah.
Especially if they finish on a Friday, we try and we like to have like a nice relaxed commission instead of like end of the day, let's get it done. So yeah, just 2 commissions tomorrow. Plenty of emails to catch up on, and then Wednesday I've got 10 phone calls for air conditioning and heat pump, just conversations, just to see whether we're going to be suitable for them.
Yeah. And when you say commission, that's not just the technical side; it's a handover as well. And this is where you
handover.
Walk and talk.
Probably a better way to describe it, actually. Yeah.
Well, you're kind of doing both, aren't you? You commission the system, make sure it's all running, and done all your checks. But what I suppose the important part, in a way, isn't it? But a lot of people do it. Well, not as many people should do it. Is so that customer feels very, very informed about what they've got, how it's going to work, what they've got to do if it stops working, how they live with it. I don't think. Well, I think that's a skill. It's a people-to-people skill, isn't it? When we're chatting to people, customers, obviously lots of customers, all different sorts of customers out there. Some of them are going to know way probably more technology than we do in some ways. They might be professors in physics or something and know exactly how the vapor compression cycle was. But it's a very interesting process, isn't it? You've got to be able to try and work out what that customer is going to be able to take on board, be able to cognitively take on board, because it's quite complex. It's a new way of, often it's definitely a new heating system for most people. So that is a big part of it, the handover, isn't it? And I suppose, testament to you guys, you're very good at it. I do worry there's some very, very, very good engineers out there that when it comes to people interaction, they're not that good. And that handover process is either too quick or it's not involved enough because they kind of just want to get out there and on to the next job. They're good engineers, but they're not good at that sort of, and that end point, that handover is quite an important part of the job, isn't it?
I think
It's an
your handover is like it's it's as easy as what the information you've given up front. So from the survey, the stuff you've mentioned, from the installation, the stuff that your installer man mentioned throughout the process, that when it comes to it and you're talking about the setup and the control, it's already registering in their mind like, oh yeah, that's that. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's the sensor you said was going outside. Yeah, that's the
Mm,
one that's gonna. Yeah. Oh, and this is your setback temperature. I remember we spoke about how far I want it set back overnight. Oh, and we've set your curve up. Remember we said about your temperature is going to be adjusting with the outdoor temperature. It when you sort of set them up at the beginning with them small increments, when it comes to the commission at the end, they're normally quite on board.
mm. I mean, it's a skill in its own right, isn't it? That handover process, I'd say. Well, it's a people to people thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's another one of those things that's difficult to employ somebody that can do, and another one of those skills that you need to have if you run a business that
Yeah.
we certainly didn't cover it when I was doing my MVQ.
Yeah, that whole community. I mean, there is a communication module in it. There always has been in that NVQ, but it's rubbish, if I'm honest. Guys, well, you have a great, fantastic day tomorrow. I'm gonna go and eat my tea if it's not burnt.
What you doing tomorrow, Nathan?
What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing tomorrow? Gosh, what am I doing tomorrow? So, I've got my best mate's two daughters. One of them lives in Australia. She's lived in Australia for 7 years. She's back. She got back yesterday, so we're doing bits and pieces with the kids. So we're taking them to High Lodge tomorrow, which is one of these things where they can climb back the trees. There's all these sort of pulley systems. Go Ape, it's called. So I'm doing that. I'm being a big kid tomorrow with one of my goddaughters. Lots of kids. It's
Get onto
Sounds like a
video
good
that.
day
Yeah.
to me.
quite an easy day, and probably just keeping up to date with the guild WhatsApp group. And then and then Thursday, Phil, he's one of the sort of master engineers, my cousin on sort of the air-to-air side. He's taken me to the Royal Albert Hall. I think it's something to do with the last night of the proms. There's a Miles Davis thing going on there with the orchestra, so we're going for a meal at the Royal Albert Hall and watching that. So that'd be nice.
It's a
Nice.
tough week for you.
Yeah, that all my listeners are now thinking, crikey, does he do any work? It's an unusual week this week. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying myself. Nice one, lads. Thank you ever so much for coming on Beta Talk.
Cheers.
Thank you.